who or what is responsible for the mental health struggles we are currently facing?
I think it's everybody.
All right. Hello, Michelle, Loucadoux, Kristin, Deiss. How are you all doing today?
We're good. How are you?
I am rocking and rolling. I'm very excited. I'm so happy you agreed to do this. So welcome to At The Vanguard. You are among the first guests of this brand new podcast. So thank you for helping me get it off the ground, launch it into the stratosphere. So, full disclosure, we're longtime colleagues. We've been teaching together for quite some time. And we'll maybe touch a little bit on that. We're mainly here to talk about Danscend, your company. But before we get into that, I would love if you could kind of each of you give us an overview of your bio, basically like what led you to this point in your life and career.
How much time do you have?
As much as you want.
It all started on, no. So I'm a Capricorn. I was born in 1986. But really, it kind of did start all the way back then because my mom put me in dance classes when I was 3, like begged someone to take me because she was like, I need some free time. And she moves every time she hears music. Please take her. And that's all I did for my entire life. Like I didn't have a normal childhood per se. I was always dancing. Where's Kristin? She's dancing. Where's Kristin? She's dancing. She's in a show. She's doing this. And during that time span of my life, I stopped dancing there was a brief hiatus when I was about 18 years old. And when I was 13, I was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disorder. And it really took me for a loop. Nothing was the same after that. I was constantly getting injured. Dance went from being a source of such pleasure and joy to a real source of pain, not just physically, but also emotionally and spiritually, mentally, because this thing that I loved so much was causing so much pain. And nobody really knew how to help me. I didn't know how to help myself. That's all I knew was dance. And so I decided I can't do this anymore at 18 and I went to college. I remember just looking at a piece of paper and I was like, yep, that looks good. That one sounds interesting. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. And I started dancing again and I was like, I'm just going to do this for fun. And I got into other styles. I was primarily ballet. I studied at the School of American Ballet, Miami City Ballet, the Rock School of the Pennsylvania Ballet. I was like such a bunhead. And then I realized like dance is more than ballet and oh my God, like maybe I could do this for real. And it took me another like 6 years to really get the courage to be like, you know what? I think I can do this just in a different way than I thought I was going to do it. And I went back and got my MFA from Tisch. And I freelanced in New York as a dancer for a while. And then I came to LA and I met Michelle while I was teaching at the college that you were also teaching at.
Mm-hmm.
And during COVID, lots of stuff was happening in the world and lots of stuff was happening, not just externally for a lot of our students, but also internally. And I think both Michelle and I'll let her tell her story, but because of our stories, we were able to recognize that there's a real lack of mental health support in the dance world. We experienced it and we didn't want the same for our students. So we decided that we were going to do something about it.
Michelle, what's your story?
Oh, my life story. I grew up dancing as well, but in a very different way. I started in competitions, like dance competitions, and then found ballet fairly late when I was 11-ish, I think. I don't have the best memory.
And then did a lot of dancing out of high school. I danced for Richmond Ballet, New Jersey Ballet. The whole time, like, really struggled with disordered eating and body image challenges, and which was perpetuated by the dance community. I mean, I was, let go from jobs when of my body type. And so when I was dancing for New Jersey Ballet during our break over the summer, a friend double dog dared me to audition for a musical, and I was like, sure, okay. Like, I had been a double major in dance and opera in college before I had to leave and got a different degree. So I ended up auditioning for a musical, and I got the job, and I was like, oh, well, I'll just do it during my break and then go back to New Jersey Ballet. And I fell in love. And
Was this
so
Little Mermaid?
no, it was My Fair Lady at the Paper Mill Playhouse. And it was so much fun. Like, and the beautiful thing about it is no one, everyone was okay with my body, and I didn't have to wear a leotard and tights, and I got to sing and dance and be extra. Like, I am extra, and I was way too extra for the ballet world. So I had to choose at that point between going into that choreographer asked me to do his next show, and then so whether going to that or going back to the ballet world. And I decided to go into musical theater. I did regional theater for about the next year, and then did Broadway shows for the next almost 10. Beauty and the Beast, Mary Poppins, Little Mermaid, Anything Goes, Chance of Chemistry. And then decided to move to LA to be a television star. Then I came out here and did a lot of TV and film, and then realized I didn't like TV and film because there's no audience. And, that's what I loved about it. And I didn't realize that until I got here. And then started working at, my friend Kyra called me, and she said, I think you should teach at a college. And I said, absolutely not. And then she kept calling me for the next few weeks until I said yes. And then I came in and started teaching at the college that we all taught together at. And then met Kristin. And then Kristin and I were on a play date with our toddlers, talking about how I wish someone had told me about how my self-talk, how my body image impacted my dance journey. And then she started telling me about her dance journey. And then we were like, wait a minute, maybe we're not alone. And so we started Danscend, and I'll pick up that story where Kristin left off. We officially started Danscend in 2021, and we worked about a year in kind of research and development, figuring out who our audience was, and working with an advisory board of mental health professionals to create resources. And since then, we've gotten to work with a lot of awesome groups. We do everything from workshops with young dancers on self-talk, perfectionism, things like that, to we train dance teachers, and we do certification trainings for dance organizations, dance staff, dance competition judges. And we have a lot of really awesome experiences with the dance community.
And the name Danscend, I'm assuming, is a combination of dance and transcend, right?
Yep.
So what is this? What does this title mean to you? Why did you choose that?
Well, honestly, I don't know what Michelle's about to say, but I'll go ahead and say it was the easiest thing we did by far, was finding a name, which generally speaking, that I know sometimes you have the idea and then like everything around it is really, really hard. For us, we were like, what are we going to call this? We just started Googling a bunch of stuff. We were like, it was fun. We just, we didn't use Post-it notes. I'll just say that. But we did ideate a lot, and we just wrote down a lot of stuff, and we Googled, and we're like, all right, well, this is already in use, and this is already in use. And what if we just bring these two letters, and what happens then? And we found this word, and we just moved on. There wasn't even and I think that's sort of just the way that Michelle and I do things. There wasn't a moment of like, we did it. Let's think about it. Let's say it. Let's leave it for a day or two and come back. We were like, check. Okay, next. And we just kept moving. It was the easiest thing by far, was coming up with a name.
It's a great name. It's a great title because it's very evocative of many things, but of what the whole organization is about. So I'm glad you snagged it. I'm glad you thought of that. It's perfect. So in terms of regarding the current state of mental health let's just focus on the US, where do you think the responsibility lies? In other words, like who or what is responsible for the mental health struggles we are currently facing?
Yeah, I think it's a really complex question. As far as responsible for kind of the cause of it, and then there's that side of it, and then who is responsible for the fixing it or helping to change it. I think there's a lot of research right now around social media and the mental health of young people. There is starting to be more research around dance and the arts and the competitiveness, but the juxtaposition of it being your physical body that is being judged by other people. Like some polls that show dancers, a large portion of dancers show, high levels of social physique anxiety, which is people looking at and judging your bodies, which is kind of what we do in dance. So I think there's a lot of causes or things that people can say have caused it. I think as far as the responsibility for changing it, I think there are a lot of different factors and a lot of different players. When Kristin and I started Danscend, we thought we were speaking to just dancers, and we were like, we're going to help dancers learn about this, and we're going to give them tools. And then we realized that if we are not speaking to the teachers, to the people that are in the front of the room that are setting the standards for these classes, then we're really not getting at the root of the problem. So we shifted to speaking to teachers and dancers. And then we were like, wait, if this is not supported organizationally, then, it's hard to make change as well. So I think it's everybody.
Everybody's responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to add to that, Kristin?
I mean, the answer, everybody, really catches it all.
Yeah.
But I think that I think that we did such a bad job with mental health in the past that now we're actually in a spot that we're trying to overcorrect. And I would argue that many people are getting mental health confused with mental comfort, and those are not the same thing. And I think that that's sort of, when we first started, it was just like, hey, everybody, just be nice to yourself. Like that was sort of like the big message. Like, can we just be nice to ourselves? Can we be nice to our dancers? Can, we not shame people for learning at a different pace or for looking differently? And then the more that we did workshops and spoke to teachers and spoke to dancers at events around the country, the more I realized that people are actually misunderstanding that if something is hard mentally, that means I have to walk away from it, or I need to step back, or I need to just completely cut it out of my life. And what we're really trying to do is for people to understand the importance of mental toughness. And if you're mentally tough, then you are more mentally healthy. Same thing with your body. Like, pain is indicative of something, and we have to figure out what that is, train your brain, learn new skills, and then move on, not just step back, because the stepping back isn't always a solution. And so you'll hear a lot, we all work with the college population age group, and you'll hear a lot of them say, like, I need a mental health day. I need a mental health day. And
yeah, it's kind of a new thing.
It's a new thing. Yeah. And I don't think that they don't need a mental health day. I'm like, trust me, I need one too. But that's not the only thing we can do. That's not a solution. That's a temporary Band-Aid, having a break like that, which is great, and take one if you need one. But if you're in constant need of mental health days, then there's something else going on, and you need to start building skills and building resilience, because the just walking away from it, the stepping back, isn't going to solve it. So I think there's a lot of stuff going on when we talk about mental health. It's like we're trying to overcorrect, and in overcorrecting, we might actually be moving down the wrong path.
Mm-hmm. Let's look at the dance community specifically then. So how are the mental health issues in the dance community unique?
That's a good question. I mean, I think the first thing that pops into my mind is from when you start dancing, you are consistently hearing, we use the word feedback, but I'll use the word that many dancers use, corrections. And you're having to stare at yourself in a mirror. You're being told you're not doing it right. You're trying to fix what you know you're not doing right. So you try to take it all apart. You stare at yourself and you break it all down. And none of that is inherently bad. Like that's how you get better. But from a young age, you learn that that's sort of the only way to get better. There's not a whole lot of emphasis on the what you're doing well portion of this learning in the dance world. And so the industry has raised these humans to believe the only way to get better is to be really hard on myself and for someone else to be really hard on myself. And studies actually show that self-compassion doesn't just let you get away with stuff. Self-compassion actually inspires you to work harder. And we're sort of missing that piece in the dance industry currently.
I think also because, especially now, recently in the past like 10, 15 years, since dance has become something that's more in the public eye, so you think you can dance, like all these dancers becoming music artists or, being featured, which is great, TikTok. But the level of dance has risen so much that for a dancer to be competitive with their peers, they need to be training so much that they miss out on life, and their identities are becoming so siloed because they don't have hobbies and friends, and they're, like Kristin said, like always at dance. You are a dancer, you are nothing but a dancer. And then when dance doesn't go right, that identity is so siloed that it just feels like there's nothing else. If dance doesn't go right, then I am nothing. Or if I mess up on my senior solo this year at nationals and I fall out of a pirouette, then like, why am I even alive? Because we don't have friends or other hobbies. And I think that can be really challenging, especially for dancers who are, in their adolescent kind of years where they're still just figuring out who they are. And if they don't have a multifaceted identity, it can be challenging when they get older.
Where do these harmful or unhealthy practices and beliefs stem from? How did they get entrenched into the dance community?
They were there long before I was there. So that's a great question. I mean, so much of dance is oral tradition. In terms of like how to be a dance teacher, you teach the way that you were taught. So I don't know the statistic on this. I would venture to guess that most dance teachers in anywhere, including colleges, grade schools, private studios, most dance teachers don't have a special degree in dance teaching. And so the degree, the knowledge, the bar of entry is like, okay, who taught you? And then you just teach the way that you were taught. And so there isn't a whole lot in dance of like looking at the tradition and being like, how can we make this better? And in fact, dance has always been really far behind the times compared to other sports in terms of like sports medicine. Dance is both a sport and an art. We are extremely physical beings when you dance, and only now is like the idea of cross training acceptable. When I was younger and I was dancing, I was told don't do anything but dance because you'll develop the wrong muscles. Your muscles will get too big or you're going to hurt yourself and then you won't be able to perform and yada yada yada. And now it's so nice to see dancers making sure they really care for their physical selves by cross training. But I mean, other athletes have been doing that for decades. And we're just now doing it. So there's a real, dancers are their own special breed, and we don't like change. We do not like change. And so
Why not?
I don't know. It's like, It's just, we just harp on tradition. Like, it's what we've always done. This is how we've always done it. And this, that, and the other. And someone comes in and tries to stir the pot, and it takes a long time for things to shift.
I think there's a bit of kind of no one understands dancers unless you're a dancer kind of mentality, which to some extent is really true because it is a very specific art form that is so personal and competitive and but also there are great things to be learned from the outside community. I mean, I teach industry and networking for dancers, and they have to create two different resumes, a dance performance resume and a resume to get their, side job or another side. And we call it a muggle resume because unless you're a dancer, you're a muggle. And it's I think ingrained in the kind of the lore that if you're not a dancer, you just don't get it, which is kind of othering, but it also is a challenge that, we don't listen to other groups of people that might have things that can help us.
Do you think that technology is helping or hindering at this point?
I mean, technology has been used in dance for a while, not in the way that we use it now, but in the 80s, 90s, Merce Cunningham was using it to choreograph because he couldn't move anymore. If you ask his dancers, some of the dancers that have learned the rep that he created on a software program, they would say, yeah, that really effed up my body. Like, human bodies weren't supposed to move that way. And now we have to move like this software. So when you say technology, what technology are you referring to specifically?
I mean, it's kind of open. I'm not sure myself because I'm not in the dance world. I don't know how technology plays a role, how it shows up beyond, the more broader technologies of like social media would be the one, that would come to mind now. So does social media play a more particular role in terms of mental health for dancers?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll let Michelle go.
You know where I'm going. It's a great read, is the Surgeon General's advisory on youth mental health and social media usage. And there are significant correlations between the number of hours folks spend on social media and their mental health, anxiety, depression. The challenge with dancers is that their Instagrams are, in today's society, for all intents and purposes, used more than a physical resume. Most agents will look at your Instagram before they look at your resume. Many choreographers hire just from social media. So it's a necessary evil for dancers. But the challenge with that is that not all of it obviously is accurate, because people are using filters and they're getting the one take out of the 52 takes they got where they did that perfect pirouette. And our smart brains, our neuroplasticity is happening, and we're shifting our idea of what normal is in the world based on these seemingly perfect images. And then dancers look away from their phones at themselves, and then they feel bad about themselves, and they don't feel like they're good enough because they've looked at image after image that has literally changed their brain shape to believe that they need to be something that is often unattainable.
I mean, in the world without social media, the only dancers you could compare yourself to were the ones that you were physically next to, or the 3 dancers who were, chosen to be in Dance Magazine that month, and they were your age, and you're like, wow, and all you see is a photo. But now the possibility of comparing yourself to anyone is endless. It's legitimately endless. You could scroll for a whole 24 hours and find new accounts and find new people that are better than you. And that is super, super dangerous, because now not only have you changed what your brain sees as normal, but it's going to completely affect the way you learn. It's going to affect the way you make decisions. It's going to affect your behavior. It's going to affect how well you perform. Like everything just sort of goes downhill from there. And to what Michelle said, it is necessary to a certain extent to be on social media platforms if you are a dancer and you want to work in the industry. But it's highly addicting. We all know it. These apps were designed to get people to stay on them. And social media addiction, I think, is something that runs rampant everywhere, not just with dancers. I taught a workshop recently about this very topic, and there were about 70 dancers in the room, and I was like, I'm going to start saying increments of time in hour blocks. And I want you to sit down when I've finally surpassed how many hours a day you think you spend on social media. And I was like, just be honest. Like there's no judgment, all this stuff. There were still people standing at 7 hours. And I know myself, fully formed brain. I do this research. I know very well the pitfalls of being on social media, but I also have the blessing, you may call it, of running our social media. So I can say to myself as I'm scrolling, which generally speaking, I'm doing research. What is trending? What is the new thing? What are the trending audios? I have to do this work. But when I know I should stop and I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, okay, that's good. 15 more minutes. And I'm like, 15 more minutes. And I'm a fully functioning adult.
Right.
So like, if it's hard for me, and sometimes I'll just pick up my phone and open an app without even thinking twice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I doing? It's really scary. And I'm like, okay, if I'm doing that, then what are these teenagers doing? Like, of course it's got them hooked because I'm hooked as an adult.
Yeah. So clearly there's a need here, and specifically in the dance community. So how does Danscend go about addressing these needs?
We teach people first what's going on. Like, we provide the education that we never got as dancers. We were always taught about how important the physical body is and training the physical body and all of this. But the mentality of dance was never really touched upon. And if it was, someone just said like, you got to be tough. Let's go. It's like, what does that mean? What does that look like? Leave everything at the door and come in the studio. That's like the majority of what you heard. That's the most you ever heard. And so we try to first educate people, teachers, organizations, dancers, about the role that the mind plays in their dancing, how everything is connected and how powerful your mindset is. And depending on the topic that we're talking about, we just explain to them what self-talk is and why it works, or why perfectionism is a thing. What does it look like? And most of the time, you can see like a sense of relief in these dancers because we're just explaining the science of this stuff, and they look around and they're like, oh, it's not just me. It's like, no, we're all wired this way. There's a reason that this happens. We are all wired this way. And then the second step after education is like, here's what you do about it. Here are 3 small things that you can do in the studio as a dancer. Here are 3 small things you can do as a dance teacher to sort of help balance some of the unhelpful wiring that our brains naturally do in environments like a dance studio.
I think, and this might just be my opinion, I think one of the most important things that Danscend does is research, combing through, research after research. Like it can be overwhelming. It can be like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what these words are. Or like, so what we do is we turn the most current research into simple things that dancers and dance teachers can do. Because it can be overwhelming. It can be, I need to deal with my mental health. And you're like, I don't know how. If you'd asked me when I was like a pre-professional ballet dancer, when I was at ABT in New York, and you're like, do you want to be happy or do you want to be good at dance? I would have said, I want to be good at dance. So I think one of the other things that's important.
As if it's a dichotomy, as if it's either or.
I don't care. I don't need to be happy. dying for my art. But it's true, and many dancers feel that same way. And so I think one of the other important messages that we're trying to get out is that, like, yeah, sure, like if you are actively working on improving negative self-talk or like having a more, you know, functional relationship with your body, that can make you happier, but it also can make you a better dancer because, the professional football teams, professional basketball teams, they all have mental skills coaching and they travel often with mental health professionals so that they can perform at their best. So I think another thing that we are trying to overcome is that dancers don't need mental skills training. They don't need to be happy. They don't need to like pay attention to their self-talk or be resilient. But our message is that it'll make you a better dancer too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also, like, even if these kids aren't going to be professional dancers, even if they go into another area and they do something else, it's going to make them a better human. It's going to provide them with skills necessary to function in the world because dance training can be super challenging. It is super challenging. Like, it's a lot to ask of these young kids to do what they do, even if they don't have plans to become a professional dancer. They're in a very challenging situation, and that can be such a good thing as long as they're supported in the way that they should be in that environment. And so a lot of dance, like you'll hear it a lot, dancers make great, and then they just list off a bunch of jobs because we're hardworking, we're disciplined, we're on time, we're this, we're that. Yeah, we're collaborative. We could be even better at those things too if those challenges that we face in dance come with the necessary support. And I just saw something. This is not dance related, but it is related to children, especially in high performance situations. It was when I was on Instagram. There you have it. I saw this reel. Someone was on the Drew Barrymore show. I don't know his name. He was an actor that used to be on Wizards of Waverly Place on Disney Channel, and now he's like older and he's directing. There's like a reboot. So now he's directing. And he says to Drew Barrymore, he's like, I have all these kids on set, and as director, you have to yell cut all the time, right? That's just part of the gig. Like, the light fell down, or, oh, we have to hold for sound, or something's going on that these kids don't know about. And he goes, and he says to Drew, who used to be a child actor, how many times has that happened to you when you were a child in a scene, the director yelled cut, didn't give you any context, and you thought it was your fault? And she just was like so upset about it. And he goes, so I know that feeling because I was that kid, and I won't do that anymore. I'll yell cut, and then I'll explain what's going on. We have to hold for this. You're doing a great job. And it's like these kids' brains are still forming. They're still growing. They're growing until they're around 26 years old. And if we can like not just challenge them and expect them to be their best in these really challenging situations, but also help them get there. Like, that's the whole point of mentorship, of being a teacher, of teaching this craft, is to like really honor not just the art, but honor the person that you're sharing it with. And I think that small shift can make a huge difference. And when these kids grow up to be adults and they're in the world, I think that our world would look different if everybody had brains that were trained in that way. We would be more empathetic of each other. We'd be more compassionate. We'd be more not single-minded. We'd see things from various perspectives. We could talk to people that maybe we disagree with. and like we're in a world currently where that doesn't happen. And it's like,
no,
my hope is that the stuff that we do doesn't just affect the dancers in their dance career, but affects them as humans, as like citizens of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So in terms of what it is that Danscend does, could you maybe walk us through like a little mini lesson or practice, something that your dancers have found especially transformative or helpful? Give us like a taste of what is Danscend.
So we talk, one of the workshops we do often is we talk about self-talk and how self-talk impacts your career and your choices and your path. We talk about Dr. Albert Ellis and the ABC model, where A is activating event. So something can happen to you. B is your belief about that event. And C is the consequence that happens because of your belief about that event. So we give an example of A is you fall down on stage during a solo, and your belief could be, I just don't have it to be a dancer. I'm just not made to be a dancer. And then the consequence of that is you just decide to quit dancing and you take up soccer. That's one consequence. That same activating event can lead you to a belief of, oh, wow, I need to work on my core strength a little bit more because I fell down on this. You work on your core strength, you come back the next year better, and you win in that competition. Two completely different ideas that you quit dance or you win at competition the next year. And it's the same activating event, but different beliefs. So the first thing we do is ask dancers, like, do you even know what's happening in your head? Like, do you know what you're telling yourself? What are your beliefs? So we talk about, so we'll have dancers, we'll give them different scenarios and they'll come up with very different beliefs and very different consequences. And then we challenge them to start asking themselves, what are the negative self-talk loops that you have in your head every day, and how are they impacting your choices, and how is this impacting your dance trajectory?
Yeah. And this is all backed by science. It's evidence-based, and you've got a board of advisors, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not just making it up.
Yeah.
If that's what you're wondering. No, I wouldn't. I would. It's too tiring to make it up. We're getting it from the real experts, and what we do, we kind of see ourselves as like translators. Like, okay, how can we say this to these people and make it useful for them?
Mm-hmm.
We have our advisory board is really cool. It's a group of folks who are mental health professionals and industry leaders who are former professional dancers or who actively work with professional dancers and performers. So they can help us take the science, but translate it into dance speak. Mm-hmm. And understand kind of the specific caveats to the science. Who, there aren't a whole lot of studies. There's not a whole lot of research on dance and mental health. It's getting better. Like there's a lot more recently, but often we use research in sports medicine, in peak performance, like on Olympic athletes, and then we translate that into how it relates to dance. So they're super instrumental in that as well.
And it sounds like what you're describing, like even the ABC thing that you just mentioned, that this is information and these are skills that can help anybody, really. Like it's not
100. Like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's, was it you, Chris? Were we talking about home ec class not long ago?
Maybe.
I don't know. I just
I did take a home ec class and I loved it.
I just had this. Maybe it was you. I feel like we need to bring home ec back.
Oh my gosh.
Call it something different.
Yeah.
But like real life skills that every human needs to know. Mental skills training, or just being, savvy about how your brain works in the simplest way, and tapping into the things that are going on in your brain. Mm-hmm. Just knowing that that's important is so needed. And most people aren't getting that kind of thing unless it's being taught at home.
Right.
Or they're in a sport where it comes up, or they decided to major in psychology in college. Like it's not as obvious to the world as it should be. Right. I mean, you should learn like why. I was thinking about this the other day. I have a 2.5-year-old. Mm-hmm. And she is, deep in her animal sounds era. So it's like, what sound does this animal make? And what, she like loves it. And I'm like sitting there and I had this thought, like, when is this ever going to come up for her? in her life, unless she decides to be like a zoologist or a veterinarian or a farmer. Like, why am I teaching her that a sheep says ba and not, hey, what did your brain say? Like, I'm not sure how we got here as a culture, like what we think is important that toddlers know.
Right.
But maybe some of that needs to be reviewed and looked at so that everybody kind of has a little bit of intel into what's going on in their brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that like that relates to the dance community too, because we teach the same things that our teachers taught in dance, and we say the same things, but now we have science. We have like fMRI scanners that you can put on people's brains that show that the same parts of your brain light up when you're rejected at an audition as when you have like a broken arm. Like, and so we have all this science that we can apply to the dance studio and to the arts right now that we're not, as far as many places are concerned. So,
well, for teachers and choreographers, directors, other people in similar positions, how can we recognize the warning signs and respond to them without overstepping our role or position?
Yeah, so it depends. There's sort of different tiers of familiarity that these folks that you mentioned will have with their employees or with their dancers. So if you are super close to somebody, you see them all the time, you have a good baseline for them. Anytime they're not at their baseline for an extended period of time, something's up. So for some people, that looks like more sleep. For some people, that looks like less sleep. For some people, all of a sudden, they're really together. For some people, all of a sudden, they're really not together. Like, it's any deviation from somebody's baseline for a long time, in which case, you know, you would refer them to a professional. I noticed that XYZ. How are you feeling? How can I help? Did you know that you could talk to someone about this?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it were someone that is like the lead that doesn't get a lot of face time with dancers, or they're sort of further removed, there was a study done where a CEO of a company sent out a newsletter and talked about his own challenges with mental health in the newsletter. And afterwards, I think it was something like 40 to 60% of employees opened up about their mental health to somebody else for the first time. So there's, you know, you can lead by example. You can really just notice when things seem off. Always have hotlines available to people, always have places to refer, because as much as we want to help, we're not mental health professionals. So we just have to know when to draw the line and know when to refer somebody. But of course, you know, creating an environment where somebody feels comfortable asking for help is so important.
Yeah.
So simply, and Danscend does this, we give out just signs that have phone numbers that someone can take down if they are having a mental health challenge. You know, National Suicide Hotline, Trevor Project, National Eating Disorders Hotline, that you can put in a public place so people can see that they are there. But we also recommend putting them on the back of a bathroom stall door so people can take down those numbers if they're having a challenge. Because the fact is that sometimes people don't talk to someone else if they are in trouble, and they don't want to talk to, you know, if you are a leader, if you're a teacher in a dance class, in an acting class, a voice teacher, then sometimes our students want so much for us to be proud of them, for us to think that they're doing a great job, that they don't tell us when they're struggling because they want our approval. So maybe sometimes you aren't the person that they're going to go to. So it's important to have some place that they can go if they need to talk.
Right. How do you both maintain your own well-being while spearheading this movement?
The question of the hour, the question of my life is, I don't know. Like, and I think, you know, part of why, I'll speak for myself, part of why I'm so personally interested in all this stuff is because it's challenging for me too.
Yeah.
And I see so much of the things that I went through, the things that I'm even struggling with today. And I'm like, okay, this knowing this stuff and this research and teaching this helps me just as much as it helps them. And it's kind of like, when they say, like, I'm not just the president of the club, I'm a member too. That's how I feel. I'm like, I am also one of y'all. Like, I am also addicted to social media. This is why it's so important that we talk about it. Like, I say this to people and I try to follow it as much as I can. It can be really hard to really care for your mental health because it's not a one size fits all thing. And what works for you yesterday might not even work for you today. And you're in constant flux and different seasons of life, and you have to sort of try stuff on, and that doesn't work, and try this on, and that doesn't work. And it takes a commitment and it takes time. And for me, I'll speak for myself, everything I do is more important than taking care of myself. And that is how I should not think of things, right? Because I'm no good to someone else. If I don't put my face mask on first, when the plane loses air pressure, how am I supposed to help somebody put theirs on? I know it, but I don't behave that way all the time. So a few things, if you're like me and you're like, great, so what's the answer? I really rely on the people around me to tell me that I have to take care of myself. And it's like, spend time with people who don't make you feel bad for needing time to take care of yourself.
Right.
Because if you're having a trouble doing it and you start to hear it from the people who love you, like, hey, what are you doing? Have you tried this? Are you doing that? And they can provide support in doing it. That's really important.
And it actually is research backed. So there's a really great book by sisters Emily and Amelia Nagoski that talks about stress and how often we as a culture don't complete what they say is the stress cycle. Back when we were cave humans, we would see a bear and we would run after the bear and kill the bear, or I don't know, get killed by the bear, but probably hopefully kill the bear. And back in the day, we would come back to the campfire and we would tell the story to our peers. We would commune about it. We would talk about it. We would vent about it. Like, I can't believe there's another bear, right? And then that brings us back, brings our stress circle back around. These days, sometimes we don't talk to anybody about it, and that can kind of keep things piling up and piling up. So, I think for me, it's really important I vent to Kristin often. I'm very lucky to have a wonderfully supportive and loving and caring and patient partner in this absolutely bonkers ride of creating a business and running a business. And I think having somebody to talk to is really important.
And there is merit in forming those communities online and through social media. And social media isn't all bad. Like, a lot of people do connect and find real community on those platforms, but it doesn't do it like in person stuff. It doesn't hit the same. Like, making a reel about killing the bear and sending it out to your friends is not going to be the same thing as sitting around the campfire and speaking to someone face to face. Like, we just spend so much time in this digital landscape that it is super unhealthy, and we don't get a chance to let the stress go. I read somewhere recently, there was some study done that now we're in this age of like so many people working from home, that around 30% of American adults say that they'll only speak to another human being in like face to face, not digitally, face to face, once every like 3 days.
Wow. That's incredible. This is a new world.
Yeah. It's a new world, and we don't understand it. And so there aren't boundaries yet. Right. And we've got to start creating them, because I think we're going to start to see the effects for sure.
Yeah. Well, I know we have to wrap up soon. What are your hopes for Danscend and the broader dance community over the next 5 years?
Okay, I'll talk. I have ideas. I would like to see every dance educator that is leading a classroom be certified in dancer mental wellness. We have a 2.5 hour virtual certification that we do that is just basically how can you give feedback that supports dancer mental health? How can you cultivate a growth mindset? How can you create a safe but brave space in the dance studio? Would love to have every single dance teacher that is leading a dance or class or a rehearsal or a company that has done that training, because often they have done none of it.
Yeah.
Eventually, we would love to use this science to branch out to musical theater artists, to actors, to gymnasts, to all sorts of types of folks, because the science does translate often.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, genuinely, if it helps, if all of these efforts help one dancer, that's more than I could even ask for, because I just truly want them to have support that I desperately needed and that I didn't get. And to nobody's fault, it's not like anybody was holding it from me. Like, no, you don't deserve this. It's just, we didn't have the knowledge. It wasn't being talked about like it was now. And I just think that if we can truly touch one dancer in a way that keeps them healthy mentally, in a way that keeps them feeling like they've got a handle on the situation, and makes them feel like they do have what it takes to become the dancer if they want to become a dancer. Like that that's really what it's about, is like bettering the world, leaving the world better than when you found it.
Yeah. And you're doing that. You're both doing that. Where can people learn about Danscend?
Well, if you're addicted to Instagram, we're there. You can follow us at Danscend Official, Danscend. You can go to www.danscend.com. We are also on LinkedIn at Danscend. We're on Facebook at Danscend. And you can see what we do.
And you can text us.
You can text us.
213-770-1226.
Oh, nice.
Email us, hello@danscend.com.
Brilliant. Was there anything else we didn't touch on that you wanna share?
I'll say this. There's a difference between the help that, we can provide as Danscend, like start a gratitude journal, meditate for 5 minutes a day, do your ABCs, and think about, a different set of beliefs that you can believe and really hold on to, and someone who needs more than that. And that, if you ever feel like you need more than that, there is no shame in speaking to a professional. Like, you would never just tell somebody with a broken leg, like, oh, rub some dirt in it.
Mm-hmm.
Just do some extra, walking on your broken leg and it should go away. Like, that's sort of, if someone was suffering from like a clinical diagnosis, what we are doing isn't always going to be the answer for you. So it will certainly help, but if you feel like you need more, please connect with professionals, because sometimes it does need more. Sometimes it needs a professional therapist or some medication for a little bit, or, more help than what we do can provide.
That being said, what you do provide is pretty amazing, and as we established earlier, very much in need nowadays. So I'm so happy that somebody thought to do this and that you put your company together. I wish you the best of luck. I can't wait to see what's around the corner. Thank you again for coming on the podcast. Keep me posted. I'll put all of your links and contact information in the show notes and everything. Okay. All right.
Thank you for having us, much. Chris.
Yeah. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk soon.
And I'm so sorry, my email kept dinging. I put it on do not disturb like 3 times. I don't know.
It's all right. You've got email dinging. I've got painters outside the window. It's like Kristin's getting kicked off. Don't worry.
It's.
I'm gonna edit all of this in a way where it'll be seen.
We don't know any of it.